Welcome to this channel, Young Pilgrims. My name is Sebastian. Today we will continue with the series of videos about the festive cycle. This time we will begin with the second block of festivity, which is known as the autumn festivities. This begins with the festivity of Yom Teruah, which we will discuss today. Yom Teruah, as head of this second block, represents something very relevant and gives us a great lesson on the importance of being attentive and prepared. In addition to being a festivity and a time of consecration, it is also a time of practice that helps us to be ready for the prophetic events of the second coming of the Messiah. But before focusing on the prophetic question, let's see where it comes from and what instruction the Eternal gives about its celebration. The festivity, like the rest of the festivities, is mentioned in the book of Leviticus, chapter 23. We read the following in verse 24 to 25. Say to the Israelites, on the first day of the seventh month, you are to have a day of Shabbat rest, a sacred assembly commemorated with trumpet blast. Do not regular work, but present a food offering to Elohim. In this verse, the first thing we see is the confirmation that is a commandment of the Eternal. On the other hand, we see the instruction that there was for this day, being a day of holy convocation and a day in which the people of Israel were going to stop their work and set that day aside to dedicate it to the Eternal, and that was to celebrate the first day of the seventh Hebrew month. This announced by the appearance of the moon, as we have already analyzed in the past videos. I would like to take the opportunity to invite you to watch the video of the Festive Cycle Part 2, in which we talk about how the date is calculated to celebrate the festivities. I will leave you the link in the description. Well, continuing, we see that it will be a commemoration. But a commemoration of what? We can ask, no? Because we don't know, no? If it was not related to some event of the people of Israel, what kind of commemoration? Well, it was more a commemoration of the preparation for an event in the future, which later with the coming of the Messiah will be defined. We also see an important element, which is the trumpet, which was actually a shofar, an instrument made from the horn of a ram, which was used to celebrate, to alert, and to symbolize the voice of the Eternal. This instrument was played that day, being the main element of this celebration. Finally, we see that this will be a festival in honor of the Eternal and will be accompanied by a sacrifice, which is fact were several, as chapter 29 of Book of Numbers breaks it down. We can see in that chapter all of these sacrifice. Well, now knowing the origin of this festivity, I would like to make an analysis of the elements that compose it. First, we have the meaning part. This has a very valuable meaning, since it serves to know when to celebrate this festivity and in turn give us a great lesson to be attentive, since it is not known with certainty when it will be visible, and if no one neglects it, they can lose the opportunity to celebrate the festivity. The second element is the shofar. This element, as we already mentioned, represents the voice of the Eternal. And of course, we know that the Eternal doesn't have a voice since he is not a human. But this allows to his word, that is the Torah, and the living one, that is Yeshua, who warned us about the future and the coming judgment. Finally, there are sacrifices, which represent the delivery of Yeshua as the perfect Korban. and that despite the fact that this festivity is not directly related to his death, it reminds us that it's Yeshua through whom we can be part of that festivity, since it's He who connects us with the Father, cleansing us with both His sacrifice and His example that help us clean our garments. These elements lead us to the prophetic part. As we have seen in previous videos, this festivity, along with the rest, have not yet been prophetically fulfilled, as in the case of the spring ones, which were fulfilled with the first coming of Yeshua. These festivities will be fulfilled with the second coming of Yeshua, and more this one, since it represents just that, the second coming of Yeshua. The moon represents the uncertainty of when he will return, since just as no one knows the day and time when the moon will appear, no one knows the day and time when the Messiah will appear for the second time. On the other hand, the shofar represents the alert sound which will sound for the last time when Yeshua returns, and as believers, we are transformed, as Paul says in the first letter of Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 22. In a flash, in a twinkling of an eye, and the last trumpet from the trumpet will sound, the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. Well, the sacrifice, as we already mentioned, represents the recognition of Yeshua as the means of salvation and communication to the Father. Now that we have already analyzed these elements, now we have to think about how do we celebrate? Well, first, being attentive, being aware of when is the first day of the 7th month, which we can locate it using as a reference past festivities, and watching the appearance of the laser light, the moon. On the other hand, this day we must keep it living our daily task and focusing on the celebrating by playing the shofar. This as a symbolism of the alarm sound. And finally, we must celebrate remembering that in the future we will be transformed to the sound of the last shofar. And for this, we must be prepared by consecrating ourselves. Yeshua tells us as well in Matthew 24 that we must be prepared, since the day and the hour nobody knows. We read this in Matthew 24, verse 36 to 39. But about the day and hour no one knows, not even the angels in heaven, nor the Son, but only the Father. As it was in the days of Noah, so it will be at the coming of the Son of the Man. For the day before the flood, people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, up to the day Noah entered the ark, and they knew nothing about that will happen until the flood came and took them all away. That is how it will be at the coming of the second Son. So that day is a day of celebration, remembrance, and practice for the second coming of Yeshua, which every believer who fulfills the instruction and recognizes Yeshua must celebrate. And well, we come to the end of this video. I'm going to share with you a more in-depth study of the festivities, which I highly recommend you. I will leave the link in the description. So, well, I recommend you to check it. Well, if you have any comments, doubts, you can write it in the comment section and help us giving a like also. And thank you for taking the time also to study with us. See you in the next video, and blessings.